This is the Solid Signal podcast for the week of December 28th, 2020. Technically, my friends, the first podcast of the year 2021, which is one of the reasons that I decided to shake up the background of this podcast if you're watching it on YouTube. If you're listening to it on any of the other streaming platforms that we offer, and I think we offer about 10 of them, it's not like it's a huge thing, but you can watch the YouTube over at blog.solidsignal.com or at Solid Signal's YouTube page, which is youtube.com/solidsignalcom. Anyway, this weekend, actually last Friday, I have to address something that happened, and how could I not? There was an explosion which took out cell service and internet service for a major portion of the southeast of this country. And judging by my own internet connection, I don't think things are quite back to the way they were yet. But, kudos to the folks who worked hard to get phone and internet back, especially for people in Tennessee who I understand were without a lot of communications for the weekend. And I have to imagine that a lot of people had to leave their homes and their gatherings in order to make that happen. So thank you very much to our hardworking folks on the front line who make that happen. But it brings up a very interesting topic that I feel like I have to discuss. We don't know why the individual who did this thing actually did it. We don't believe that the person survived. We believe that we found the person responsible and that they perished in the explosion. And, well, I don't know what to say about that. Certainly, while I would like to see why this person did what they did, they left no evidence, and what can you do? But it's been suggested that one of the reasons this may have been happening was because this person suggested a link between 5G and COVID-19, which, let's be honest, does not exist. I'm going to go way out on the record here and say there is just no reason to suspect any link between the new 5G service rolling out from Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, or any other carrier, and the COVID-19 pandemic, which quite frankly has been devastating to our country. There's just no reason to think that there's anything going on that would conflate those two things. I am not a doctor. I am not a scientist. And all I'm going on is the same kind of research that you can find as well. And there's a lot of information on the internet about this kind of thing, and a lot of it is patently false. I would go ahead and trust anything that had to pass through strategic levels of peer review. I would trust anything that came from major medical institutions, and they all say the same thing. 5G does not cause COVID-19. 5G just happened on the scene for a lot of people at the same time that COVID-19 happened on the scene. And it happened on the scene in the same places for one particular reason, which is that COVID-19 was first seen in the United States in densely populated areas, and 5G was first seen in the United States in densely populated areas for the same reason. That's where the people are. COVID-19 spreads easily when you have a lot of people in a small area, and 5G is going to roll out early in areas where the company that's rolling it out can make the most money. There's nothing more to it than that. And it's a shame if this whole thing happened because of a misguided individual who believed that. Now, folks, I'm not trying to play politics, and I'm not trying to get into conspiracy theories or anything like that. But the science here seems to be very, very clear. And another thing I'd like to point out with regard to 5G, I've said this before at the Solid Signal blog, is that most 5G, unless you're in a very densely populated area, actually takes place on the same frequencies that were used for LTE and 3G, and before that for television broadcasting. These are frequencies that have been in use for decades, since the 1940s. And there's no reason to think that things have changed just because they're now carrying digital cellular information instead of television broadcast information. If anything, you would find more incidents of problems with television in areas around the towers, and you're just not seeing that. I don't know what caused this person to do the thing that they did, and I do not support it in any way, but the thing to remember is that if you've got a 5G phone from AT&T or from any other carrier, or a 5G device in any way, that there is no way that it's going to give you any sort of virus-related sickness. That is just not how that stuff works. It's also not a form of mind control. It's also just not something that is going to hurt you in that way. What is going to hurt you may be the things that you can download much more quickly, but information is free, and it's designed to be free, and opinions are free, and you certainly have the opinion to express any sort of protected speech that you want in this country, just like this podcast. But you're going to get that when you download stuff off your phone, whether it's in 5G or LTE or whatever. But this kind of conspiracy theory is just not helping anybody. And clearly, as we saw in the case of the last couple of days, it has the potential of causing massive property damage and loss of life. Folks just don't believe it. 5G is a safe technology as far as we can see in any way. And that comes from scientists. That comes from medical journals. And I do understand there are some corners of the internet where that theory is being challenged. Okay, let's not get too far into it. All I can say is to the folks who lost their service over the weekend, I'm glad you're back. For the folks who worked very hard to make that happen, thank you. And otherwise, all I can say is get a phone with 5G. You'll enjoy it. You can get one by contacting the folks at Signal Connect, 866-726-4182, and we will make sure that you are completely taken care of. We are AT&T preferred dealers and can give you the same quality service or better than you would get from walking into a store, which is not necessarily something anybody wants to do, especially right now. That's it for the Solid Signal podcast. I look forward to talking to you again next week. Happy 2021. Have a great New Year's, and we'll see each other then.